Welcome, welcome everybody. Happy
I'm Alice.
birthday to all of my private investing club and those of you who are watching the replay. Today we have actually a whole team coming to speak to you about real estate investing opportunities, cash flow opportunities. Now, as you all know, right now the market is on sale. Okay, there's a sale going on everywhere. And yes, it is possible for us to go lower. As a matter of fact, those of you in my investing club, we wanted to go lower, all right? Because that's even buy lower and sell as high as possible, right? That's
Absolutely.
the goal of everything, including other asset classes outside of the stock market, outside of traditional investments. Okay, so I have
Absolutely.
Samir here, who is a mortgage loan officer. He has a couple of members of his team that is going to be speaking to us about how to position ourselves as investors to take on opportunities on markets like this and even other types of markets. So Samir, I'm going to pass it over to you. Go ahead and take it away.
What's up, everybody? I know some of the people in here. Earl's on the squad. Janelle, I don't know Miss Kathleen. Okay, well, Katiana's note taker is probably some AI program. Nancy Destin and Vinard Desir. Well, I recognize Nancy Destin's name. I don't know why, but okay. All right, so my name is Samir. Been doing mortgages for about 27, 28 years.
Mm.
My assistant, Logan, which is my 2-year-old son, is in the background here playing somewhere. And I was going to introduce him too, but he's not cooperating. But hey, I just want to say, everybody, hi, good evening. I know there's a lot of craziness going on, the stock market rate, mortgage rates, and stuff like that. And the one person that I am waiting on is one of my clients. Her name is Dominique. And Dominique recently did a transaction with our team where she bought a triplex in Atlanta in one of the best neighborhoods there and converting it into a quad. And she bought the property for 830. It appraised for 850. It's already bringing in $6,000-7,000 a month in cash flow. And then once it's a quad, it'll be worth 1.1. It'll bring in about 10 grand a month in cash flow once she's done with all the repairs and so forth. So it's just one of those things where it's just like an actual case study in real time. She just got the permit for the fourth unit. She told me last week because she called me all excited about it. So once she lands, she's on an airplane right now. She'll be joining the Zoom. So the first thing I wanted to say is, first of all, thank you for coming. Second, I hope you all get something out of this. Is you can just you can just Okay. So I hope you guys all get something out of this. The first thing I want to do is let's talk about this like real estate, like overall, like right now. Okay. If you're paying attention, when the market goes down like this, the stock market goes up and down, rates drop. Really the whole process of like the interest rates and the impact that it has on the market, it all depends on where you're at. Now, I'm in South Florida. I'm assuming the majority of people that are here are in South Florida. There's going to be some in Jacksonville. There's going to be some in Atlanta. Um, Now, there's like so many ways to go about doing this. You know, in touching with what I was talking about in regards to what Dominique purchased, it took her a year to find that property. It took her a year to find that property. There were so many other properties that like literally she pitched to me and I was like, no, don't do it. Nope, don't do it. Nope, don't do it. It's so important to have the right team behind you. Like, so I'll get one of the people that are on here, his name is Earl. Earl's one of the best negotiators I ever met in my life. And Earl will tell you, like, he'll come or I'll go to him and then he'll be like, okay, if I can get it for this price, it'll work. If I can get it for that price, it'll work. Or him and I will go back and forth over the types of prices that you're going to see. Okay. So right now, there's no exact science, but it's all math. There's no emotional attachment that is with the properties. When you have a great team behind you, they look at three things when you buy real estate for investment. How much does it cost? How much cash flow does it bring in? And how much cash flow does it potentially bring in? Okay. Now, the cash flow part, there are links that you can get that'll tell you what you can get from Section 8. And Section 8 is usually below market. So we base it off the most conservative numbers you can get. So when anybody comes to us that they say, okay, we want to buy an investment property. Okay, where is it? All right, great. So another example, I just had someone else yesterday that wanted to buy a triplex in Oakland Park for $870,000. The problem is that there were only two ones, okay? Two bedroom, one bathrooms, three of them. So they were going to bring less than $6,000 in rent. And so the return of investment was way too low, right? And then plus you're going to be cash flow negative from the very first month because of the fact there were only two ones. So the first thing is, how much is the price? How much cash flow does it bring in? And what's the bedroom count? Obviously, when it multifamilies, you want as many bedrooms as possible because the more bedrooms you have, the more you can charge for rent. That's just a basic principle of it, okay? And then the fourth thing is, who do you have on your team? Okay, just because something's listed for 900 doesn't mean it's worth it. Just because something says they're getting $3,000, $4,000 a month in cash flow rental income does not mean that's what's really there. You know, people lie, numbers don't. So it's really, really, really important that you have the right team behind you. And the last thing I'm going to touch on before like diving into like, specifics is like, look, guys, being a landlord is not for everybody. Like, I don't want to paint like, I talked to Katiana about this earlier. Like the number one thing that we have with people that invest in real estate is that they think it's easy. It's not. Being a landlord is not easy. Overseeing repairs is not easy. Talking to tenants is not easy. Finding properties is not easy. Paying for the stuff is not easy. What is easy is when you realize that there are steps and procedures that you have to go through, and doing it all by yourself is gonna make it a lot more difficult. When you have someone that you can call, I have someone that I can call for insurance. I've been using her for 12 years. Whenever I have something with insurance, I just literally email her. I don't ever worry about it. Okay. We have somebody that we can call for title. We have someone that we can call for all types of different things. When it comes to negotiating, Earl's a realtor. I'm telling you right now, I just tell them what's up and then I just forget about it and I move on to the next issue. That's how important it is. If I have a question for Katiana, I just send her the question. She texts me or email me, and I don't think about it until she does. And that is really the secret to our success, I would say. So, I'll be more than happy to open up the floor to any more questions, especially in regards to market conditions, or if maybe Katiana has a question of her own.
Right. So let's start from the beginning, right?
Sure.
As you know, I'm a complete beginner. I have my stocks, my Roth IRA, everything's working in the background, it's growing, and I'm ready to dabble into real estate. I like what you mentioned about, landlord is being a landlord is not for everybody. So as a beginner, what are some options that I would have if I was a beginner in the real estate investing world?
Okay. So if being a landlord isn't for you, then number one, I think you should get a property manager. And after you get a few properties, you're going to want to get a property manager anyway. A lot of people complain about property managers because what they do is they charge you the first month of rent and then 10% of the rents after. But who cares? Like, the people aren't calling you at like 1 in the morning because the refrigerator broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's so worth the 10% or whatever the first month rent is and all that other crap. Like, you have to understand that, like, when you have a team of people, they deserve the money because they're taking the headaches off your back. And you can just focus on other things that will bring in either more revenue or increase your ability to buy more properties. That's the first thing. The second thing is, a lot of the biggest misconception is like qualifying for these properties. I'm going to tell you guys something, okay? When you're buying a property for rental, you do have to put more money down. However, if it can be rented, it's easier to qualify for the property. Why? Because as a bank, I would rather you buy a house with three apartments, live in one apartment, say you're owner occupied, rent out the other two, and know that those two people will pay the mortgage, than just count on you to pay the mortgage. Why? Because if you go down, the mortgage does not get paid. When you're in a multi-unit, if you go down, there's two, three, four other units. Well, residential is up to 4 units. Anything past 4 units is commercial. But there are up to three other units that can pay the mortgage when you add them all together. And that's the whole secret behind it, right? So it's like, I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone. He's right. Because once you get past the whole down payment thing, where you're putting, 10, 20% down or whatever the case might be, it's easier to qualify for those mortgages because the bank knows there's multiple units that are being rented out that can pay that loan. When you live in the property, it's a bill. When you're buying investment property with units that can pay the mortgage, it's an asset because you don't have to have a job. The other people will pay it. It's that simple. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's beautiful. So, can you tell us a little bit about what is the difference between, a commercial unit versus a four and lower? Like, what when I say the difference, I don't mean like the technical difference, but like as an investor, what is the experience like? How is the experience different?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's less of a down payment when it's residential. So 4 units or less is less of a down payment because it's residential. Okay. If you don't already own a property, just live in a unit for 6 months to a year, and great news, you'll qualify as owner occupied, and your down payment could be as low as like 3.5%. All right. That's the first thing. The second thing is when it's commercial, when it's 6 units or more, it's a little bit more of a down payment. It's also a little bit of a higher interest rate because it's commercial. People move in and out of commercial properties all the time, right? That's the first. That's the third thing. But I wouldn't even let any of that daunt you. Like the easiest way is to really like if you want to figure out whether it's me or anybody else, it doesn't matter if you go to your bank or me, figure out what you qualify for, right? Because it starts with you. Figure out what you qualify for. Um, and I'm gonna go into detail on this one. The one in Oakland Park, we figured out what she qualified for. She qualified for 1 million for a quad. She makes 6 figures. She does well, but it's also using 3 units to qualify for the mortgage, right? So, but it has to be the right 4 units. It can't be 4 1 1s at $1 million, right? It's got to be 2 2s or higher and 4 of them. Why? Because it'll bring in $2,000 to $2,500 a month of worth of rent, and that will at least cover the mortgage. Where conservatively it'll cover the mortgage, and then not conservatively it'll go over and above and show cash flow immediately, right? But the key is whenever it's multi-unit on a residential level, you're able to use the units that you're not going to live in as income. Okay. So if you only make five, six, $7,000 a month and you're buying a quad, if each unit brings in $3,000 a month and you're going to live in one unit, then you'll have 9,000 plus the five you already make, which is 14,000, which will more than cover the loan. And that's why I say it's easier to qualify. Now, as far as the experience is concerned, it's exactly the same. Okay. I will say though that like once you get into like 10, anything above like 8, 10 units, you're talking about 2, 3, 4, $5 million. They're not just going to give those loans they're not Nestle Toll House cookies. They're not going to be done in like 10 minutes, right? It's like $5 million on 10, 15 units. They got to make sure you have reserves. That's the other thing too. When you're buying investment property, you have to have reserves. Reserves are not money that you're bringing to closing, but money you can tap into to pay the mortgage in case there's no tenants. So they want to see 6 months of mortgage payments at least. I say you want to have like 6 months to a year, but the minimum is 6 months of all the mortgage payments, including taxes and insurance and everything on it. And they want to see you have that in the bank somewhere, 401k, the bank, mutual funds, just assets. That's after your down payment. Anytime you buy a rental property, anytime, even if it's owner occupied and you're using the other 3 units as income, they still want to see reserves. Okay. And that makes it makes everybody feel better, especially on a 10 unit, $5.3 million house, complex. They want to see you have $200,000-$300,000 somewhere sitting tight that if the all hell breaks loose, you got 100 grand, 200 grand, you can pay the mortgage for a good 6 months to a year. That's how that cookie crumbles.
That makes sense. It's more of like a business loan. It looks like it for the commercial side of things.
It is. And it's a double-headed coin, right? So, I'm using successful examples, okay? But it's a double-headed coin. What you want to do is you want to have cash flow on the property to cover at least the mortgage, right? With a 25% vacancy. That's the goal. These are conservative numbers, right? And then also, let's face it, on an $850,000 triplex, forget about renovating it and turning it into a quad. If conservatively she made 5% appreciation next year, that's 50 grand a year that it appreciated, right? And that's why, like, I tell people too, like, the bigger numbers are just the same as the smaller numbers. It's just more profit. Um, right now, the market going to total shit is a legitimate concern. But, and excuse my French, but what I will say to everyone is that like that takes time. Like even now, like the market is correcting itself. It's not doing anything abnormal. I call it the matrix. I'm a huge I'm a huge fan of that term. But what I will say is it's called the matrix for a reason. When prices get too high, prices have to correct themselves. But over time, if you average between 5 and 10%, so there's another investor in our group. He's a big Allstate agent in Georgia. Okay. He has 9 properties, average purchase price 4 to 500, 550. He started 5 years ago. Well, those 9 properties, now their average value is 6 to 700. Okay. These are conservative numbers. I'm just using averages. Some of them are more than others because they're in better neighborhoods than others, right? But at 5% a year, you know, if he decides to sell this portfolio, even conservatively, doubling it, it's millions and millions of dollars. Plus the renters paid the mortgage. So you want to position yourself where your cash flow is good on the property. And you also want to position yourself where if you get gains on the property, it's a significant enough number that it'll impact you somehow. Does that make sense? Okay. So, and I'm not telling you to go buy $1 million properties you can afford. What I'm saying is go buy bigger properties that pay for themselves. Right. The worst thing I think I see is if you buy like $100,000 property, the rent on it is like, I had someone call me from Alabama, is an $80,000 property. The rent's $500 a month. If you lived in Alabama, $500, $600, $700 a month is a lot of money. If you live in South Florida, is it worth the headache of getting a 2 o'clock phone call because the AC went out? I'm just going by, you're muted, by the way, Katiana. I'm just going by, you understand where I'm coming from, though? Like, I'm just going by, like, okay, like if I buy this property between qualifying for the mortgage, going through the bullshit, putting a down payment down, and then now I have a tenant who's going to call me because the stove broke on a Sunday, is $500, even if the property was paid off, is $600 enough a month for me to want to put up with that headache? If it is for you, fantastic. Buy it. But I think it's a legitimate thought that you have to have. As far as like the market crashing, like '08, I mean, I don't see it happening. If it does, I'm sure there's going to be programs that people will have just like '08 that you can deal with it. It's that simple.
Exactly. Exactly. I always tell my students this, the market is, I hate to say this, like, as a financial professional, but the market, it is too big to fail. And that's one thing that we learned in all of my training is it's too big to fail. If the market fails, if the entire market fails, it takes down economies
Right.
with it. Economies.
World
So,
economy.
like you said, there's always going to be a bailout of some sort of to the rescue. And so, yeah, the market has not crashed since it became a thing. Like it has crashed and came back, but it never crashed completely and never came back since the inception of the market. Yeah.
And the people that qualify for the bailouts are not the little $50,000 loans ever. Like I tell people all the time, like people that like grants. So I used to work for major lenders. Okay. So this is how grant programs work. The city that wants you to live there, they'll give you the grants. Those are legitimate. They're awesome. All right. Mortgage companies, all the major banks, they're required to contribute to grant programs and first time home buyers. They are not required to lend that money. The last time I was at a major lender, second largest in the country, I'm not going to say who, I was able to log in upon your approval and allocate your grant funds. And at the end of the year, I think they lent 18% of it. 18%. We weren't even allowed, like, They hire actuaries to make up ratios that they know most people won't qualify for. Okay. So, and this is what I'm saying, like it's the game, as I like to call it, it's not really that it's rigged, but you have to understand it's predetermined, right? So you have to understand how the system works. You have to understand it. Are there grants out there? Absolutely. Can you qualify for it? Absolutely. Are they income driven? Absolutely. Um, you know, I mean, you have to be like literally below the median income level and poverty income level to qualify for 90% of them. But there's plenty of legitimate ones, especially from local city governments. There's plenty of legitimate neighborhood beautification grants. You got to sit down, you got to do the paperwork, but understand they hire actuaries to figure out ways to slim down the playing field so that most people don't qualify for them. Okay. So as long as you're willing to do the work and deal with the BS and do whatever, absolutely, they're legitimate. But just understand that that's what you're dealing with. That's all that is, right? So, you know, and Earl, are you there?
Talk to me.
Earl? No?
Always, always.
Yeah. So like Earl here is a realtor here in South Florida. Other than the fact that we both have the best haircut on the planet,
Yeah.
because we both
Let
shave our
him
heads the
know,
same,
bro. Let him know.
right? Right. And he's got a much better beard than me because I can only grow a goatee because I didn't go through puberty yet. Right.
Right.
So, right, Earl, there you go.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Earl, in your experience with the grants, bro,
Mm.
help us understand. Like, what do you think happens?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the times they have to meet certain ratios and criterias. So, in the end, uh, yeah, it's money that they have to lend out, but they make more money doing the traditional loans,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, what I like to do, I like, if we need money, we'll get it from the seller, right? We'll get it other ways. I don't really like relying on different programs or the government or whatnot. I like being creative. So there's
Yeah.
multiple ways of getting things done. It just depends on exhausting all of them.
There you go. So, and that's the reason why Earl's on the team.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the reason why Earl's on the team. Because when we encounter problems like money, is like I hate to. This isn't us. Money is the easy part.
Right.
I'm telling you guys, man, money is the easy part. The hard part really is like, okay, so last month I had a duplex that didn't close because the buyers were not allowed in on both sides of the duplex until the final walkthrough. And of course, the other side was trashed. That's the only reason why they wouldn't allow you to go through it in the beginning of the transaction. They'll blame the tenant, right? They'll be like, "Oh, the tenant won't let us in. Oh my God, the tenant won't let us in." And then we do the final walkthrough, and then they shoot. He walks through the second half of the duplex, and it is a total circus. It's like an elephant went through there and destroyed it. Okay, so and I'm only saying this because these are real life, real time experiences. You know, um, like things have to Dominic still hasn't landed yet. So things have to like kind of make sense, right? So it's just like with some of the properties, like Earl, I'll even reach out to Earl. Earl, my CMA is not matching. Is this property worth it? Is it going to bring in the rent? He'll bring it to me. We have one right now with one of our buddies who's buying a small condo for only 100,000. It's a little one condo, and it makes sense. But Earl's going to go through all the homeowners association stuff first, right? Because he's gonna rent that property out. He wants to rent it. It's $108,000. A 1-1 can get him $1,500 in rent. It's a decent neighborhood. Okay. His mortgage payment is like $500. Taxes and insurance gonna be another $100. His HOA is the real problem. It's like $400 or $500, right? So that's $1,000 even. Okay. 1,000, he'll rent it out for 1,500, $1,600 because that's how much he's paying in rent right now is 1,500. He'll be plus 500 in rent. The problem is the HOA won't allow him to rent it until he owns it for 2 years. We don't know if there's any special assessments yet. We don't know if they're going to increase it. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. So our job when you have a good team is to go find out, go find out, go find out. That's our job.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So to sum it up for everyone who's watching, and you let me know if I got this right. The beauty of working with a team like yours is it's nice to say, okay, yes, you can invest in real estate, but we got to look at some of the things that can go wrong, and we have to do our due diligence to make sure that everything lines up, making sure that people are actually paying their rent, making sure that the place is not trashed, making sure that you can actually rent it out and don't have HOA problems. Is
Yeah.
that what I heard?
That, and I totally agree with 100% of it. And I think you have to have a team that'll be the first to tell you those problems so that they're not just closing on the transaction to make money. That's something else too, which I hate. Like, it drives me nuts. Only because it ends up being such a waste of time after doing this for this long. And believe me, I like money just as much as everybody. But what I don't want is a client that's like feels bad they bought something from us, or through us, I should say. But we want to make sound investments because that's the reason why we have people coming back. At this point, I have people's kids that I helped 20 years ago are reaching out to do business with us, and nothing makes me happier. But what I can tell you, like when you have the right team, they have the experience to spot the problems or make sure that they're not there, right? And that's going to be the real key to your success. The money part, easy. Investment properties pay for themselves. It's that simple. You're making money on the front end, you're making money in the back end. It's that simple. And it's all math. It's that simple, right? The emotional part of it, if you're buying a property in the middle of the hood, you put it on Section 8. If you're buying the property in the best area of town, it's always going to be rented regardless because everybody wants to live there. So that part takes care of itself, right? The other parts, the math part, is really where you have to have a team that can help you focus.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And I think Dom just came in. I see Dom MAD. Is
Is that
that
Dominique?
is it is it Dominique?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So you let me know when you're ready, and I'll put her on the screen.
No, hit me. Put her on the screen.
Okay.
I know she's in an airport somewhere.
Okay. All right. She's right with you, right there. Dominique, can you hear us?
Hi, how are you?
Good. There you are.
You got the
Hi.
pearls on.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, we're good. So
I'm
I've actually
wonderful.
been talking about you for a good like 10, 15 minutes. To give him like a quick synopsis of our transaction on that triplex.
Which one? We've done a few.
Do the one that we just did like 2 months, like 3 months
Oh,
ago.
the triplex.
Yeah.
Okay, a quick rundown. Instead of strolling through Instagram or strolling through YouTube or strolling through social media or like any type of TV, I'm always on the internet searching for properties. So I had a friend of mine's and I told him that I had been looking for a multi-unit property for the last 2 years and he didn't take me serious. So then I did the work myself and I kept sending properties, and then we really got on it and we started doing some really heavy
What was I
digging.
saying? What was I saying for the majority of the time of those 2 years, that year and a half? What was I telling you
It's
to do?
not the right
There you go.
weight.
Wait. Nope,
I
this
just
ain't it.
wanted to pull the trigger,
Nope,
and
this ain't it.
Samir was
Right?
like, "Nope, this ain't
Nope,
it."
the math
I'm
don't
like,
work.
"All right, Samir," and then I'll pull the trigger again, and he'll be like, "No, it don't work," and then I'll
Nope.
pull the trigger again. A lot of it is God's timing, and a lot of it is people who are smarter than you's timing to let you know. So when God tells you it's right, and when your broker or your person, the numbers man, someone like Samir tells you it's the right timing, then you just pull the trigger. So then I finally found the one that I got excited about. And then I showed Samir because Samir always breaks my feelings. He's like, nope, 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 nope. So then I finally showed him this one and I wasn't really excited about it because I knew he was just going to turn it down and he was going to be like, nope. But this time he was like, wait a minute, we might have something here. So he did the numbers for me. And once he did the numbers and all of the due diligence, all of the inspections, all of that got back, he was like, "All right, this is the one."
Yeah.
And it went slow and then it went fast. And then once we did all our numbers and we went to the closing table and I got my numbers and everything, then it was and the deal actually closed. Then it was my turn to do what I needed to do, which was to get it renovated and to get it rented. And I got lucky with this property because it had already had pre-existing tenants in there. One was 18 years tenant and one was 21-year tenant. And then one of the tenants were one of the units were vacant. So I knew to get positive cash flow, regardless of my interest rate, regardless of my money, I knew I needed to turn that basement into a quad. And then I knew that I needed to allow the lease to run over. So then therefore keep my tenants in there, but I needed to go up on their rents to make it, like price market value and to make it so that I can be in the green and make some money afterward. So
Okay, so
that's kind of where it
I'm
is.
I'm going to interject here because this is really important. What she's saying. So what happened was, first of all, there was other properties that I did say yes, but we lost a bid, and I was like, all right, move on, because like this is America. Something's always for sale. Okay, that's just how I think. Like I don't understand why people. Oh, I have to have it. No, no, something's always for sale, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is what she's saying is the math worked, but to optimize it, we had to do some work, right? So, to optimize the rent, we had to, do some quick little cosmetic stuff in the apartments. The old people were paying old prices. So she had to either raise it on them, just like your rent gets raised. If you're renting right now, your rent gets raised because you're paying the old price. That was yesterday's price. It ain't today's price. Or get out, right? Which she has a right to do as a new owner. So that way she can charge a new price to a new tenant. Once you optimize your monthly, but then she's like, okay, I can convert the basement. There was another structure that can be converted to a 1-bedroom. That's 2 additional units that she can convert to bring in more rent into the property. So, and this is what I mean by like, it's not like, oh, I just bought a property and everything's okay. And there's a rainbow with a pot of gold at the end of it. And then like some really, really lucky bald Haitian guy comes along and gives you the pot of gold. That's not how it works. There are no Haitian leprechauns. Okay. The way it is I know Katiana, right? Great reference. Bing. I'm Haitian, by the way, if y'all can't guess.
He's here all night, everybody.
You know what I'm saying? I'm here all night, right? That's not how it works. There's still work involved. And that's the reason why I want to bring Dominique, because Dominique and I, we have a great relationship. I mean, Earl will tell you, like my clients, they all think I'm crazy. All right. I make height jokes because I'm short. It's that simple. Right. So they all think I'm nuts. Half the time I tell people what I do for a living is I get paid to tell people no until it makes sense. Okay. So basically what she did was she bought the property. Yes, it cash flowed. She said, okay, I can increase it by another $1,000, $2,000 by putting in new prices. Boom. Put in new tenants, new prices. Then I can increase it another 40% by turning the basement into a room and the other structure into a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit. That's going to bring another $3,000 a month. Guys, that's $36,000 a year. Like, come on, man. That's $36,000 a year. And not to mention, switching it to a quad is going to give it another $200,000 in automatic value. So the $830,000 purchase now becomes worth well over $1 million, which is a 20% increase within the first year. And that's what I mean by finding the right cash flow, and then doing the work to continue, doing the work to make it better, doing the work to increase your cash flow, doing your work to get the appreciation in there. So that way you maximize your profits. And that's the true art to all this. I see all this stuff on YouTube with the word hack. I hate that word. That's like another word for shortcut. Ain't no shortcuts in this. There's not. But if you're willing to do the work, it's very lucrative. And her and I already calculated this. It's going to bring in a little bit under $10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year. Like, that's $120,000 a year. The mortgage get paid off sooner or later. She's young. She's a lot younger than me. Okay. So, I mean, like, you guys, like, there's no other way to really get at this other than, hey, if you're willing to start this, if you're willing to put in the work, get with a great team, here's someone with firsthand experience of just how the process is, how it can be, all the things that went right, all the things that can go wrong. She's lived it. And that's why I wanted to bring her here, because I think it's more powerful coming from someone else's mouth than mine, because it sounds like I'm full of hot air.
No,
No, Samir, you are definitely the reason why I'm a millionaire.
Thank
You're
you. Thank
definitely
you.
the reason why.
You know, and Dominique was successful way before me. You know, she's um and something else I want to touch on, like we have a really good team. Everybody does a good part. We have someone for taxes. Like she's firsthand all we just someone that does her taxes. It's been 5 years, the same person does her taxes. Okay. We have the same realtor team. Her realtor I've known for 15 years. Okay. Earl, I've known for 7 years, 8 years now. Right. The insurance lady I sold her my book of business in 2014. Okay. So I've been using the same insurance lady for 2014. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have the right relationships, and that's what you want to cultivate. If you're new
You
to
want to
this,
tell them something funny, Samir, about how we've never even met before?
Dominic and I have never met in person.
And I talk to him every day.
We've never met in 90% of my clients I've never met in person.
Yeah. So get that fear and the fear, get that out the first thing,
Yeah.
check that out.
Yeah. We
Mhm.
take fear out of the equation. That's and Katiano probably could, she could probably relate to that a little bit because she probably talks to people that are just a little bit hesitant. They're very cautious, but the fear, once you have the experience and once you have the knowledge and you have the track record, I think the fear will be removed.
Yeah, common fears that I hear is, especially I work with a lot of clients that already have their first home, they're already homeowners, and they have equity in their home. That's the biggest fear, touching the equity in their home. They're thinking about all the things that could go wrong, right, with that. And then another fear is not being good enough, right? Not qualifying and being embarrassed to go and speak to someone like yourself. Those are the two. Of course, there's other things going on in the background, but those are the two main fears that I have encountered with some of
Well,
my clients.
let's address the second one. Hey guys, I mean, being a short little guy, I've heard no 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I mean, here's something I'll tell you. Um, I have clients that didn't qualify for 6 months to a year every single month that close. Every single month. Earl, am I wrong? Is he still there? He might be gone.
No, he's right
But
there.
he's there? Okay. Like he'll tell you. There are times I call Earl about old clients that he forgotten about. I'm like, all right, they qualify now. Their credit is fine. Go find them a house. And he goes and finds them a house. There's another, is Deandra still on here? Deandra, is she here? Yes. So Deandra works for Lennar. Deandra's a heavy hitter at Lennar. She sells a ton of properties. So I can tell you right now, like, I've sent people to Deandra that buy in the first phase, because by the time the fourth, fifth, sixth phase comes along, the builders create the equity for you. Okay. And she's worked with me on the team um, as a loan officer. And she'll tell you, we cultivate people. And even to this day, even at Lennar, somebody might not qualify today, but they'll qualify 6 months from now. That part of it you can take out of the equation if you're listening to this and there's any type of fear. As far as your equity is concerned, that's really going to be up to you. Like, I tell people all the time, like, look, you want to buy this stuff with old money. You don't want to use new money. So what you want to do is you want to take some of the equity you have on your house and then buy property. You don't want to use money that you're bringing in new money and risk that, because in the end, it's like you're buying a property, you're putting a down payment. It's not a savings account. Don't get me wrong, but there's no point in putting in new money. You should be investing the new money elsewhere.
Hey guys.
That's my
Hey
take. Is that
Samir.
Deandra?
Yes. Sorry,
She's
I was
alive.
just trying to unmute myself.
Same as me. The same thing was happening.
Earl's alive too. No worries. No
Yeah,
worries.
we're here.
But you guys, you guys can testify, right? I
Oh
said
Yes.
they
So
didn't
I want
qualify a
to
year
touch
ago every month.
so I wanted to touch the base too because I'm in new construction and I see a lot of investors buying new construction homes. And one of the reason why they want to go with new construction is also the rates that we're offering. So with Lennar, we offer special discounted interest rates, and we also offer incentives. If you're a cash buyer, that you get special pricing on the homes. If you're doing financing, We can give up to 2% in closing cost credits.
Boo. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
But I do see a lot of investors in, the new construction communities that we have. And one of the other reasons why, they would come new construction is that our HOA rules, they don't apply when you're renting it out. You don't have to live in the property for 1 year to rent it out. You can rent it right away. Just that you can't do Airbnb or short-term rentals. But if you are thinking about doing like new construction, Lennar is one of the best builders out there to consider.
Yes, and Deandra is excellent. Um, excellent, excellent, excellent. So, hit me. Go ahead, Earl.
Just to chime in, I know you were calling on me before. I do want to say you were right. I definitely want to come on and say you were asking me earlier. Oh yeah, am I right? I'd like to give you your props.
Thank you,
But
sir.
yeah, absolutely, bro. But other than that, so I've been doing this for 15 years now. And, I'm really happy to see how many people are actually on here, that's really interested in taking, your life back into your hands, right? It took me a while to really understand how important cash flow really was. You know, um, we do waste a lot of money doing, frivolous things where instead we could actually set up our lives, set up our generations, all based on the team that's around us, being on calls like this, opening our minds up, and really just like Dominique was saying, eliminating fear, you know, um, keeping your money in the bank really isn't doing anything for you. You're actually losing a lot more money just leaving it in the bank, right? You actually have to outpace inflation in order for you to even make anything, especially in this economy, right now. So real estate has made the most millionaires out of any other industry in the world. So for Samir to really put this together, it really shows that he really cares for you guys. So I really, really hope everyone, if you have any questions, if you need anything, he is the best that I've seen do this. It's a blessing that you guys even have him here, that he's taking time away from his family, to do this. So I want to say I appreciate you. You
Yes,
guys,
sir.
you guys are in good hands. If you need anything, I'm telling you, it's worth it, yo. This is the team. So,
And Katiana put this together, so I don't want to take credit, but I just want to, everybody that's here, just understand that when Katiana came to us to do this, because she started with me, I was like, all right, look, I'll bring the squad, I'll bring a case study, I'll bring someone that, that will talk about like firsthand experience of what happened. It was really important that I did bring other people so that I wasn't the only one doing the talking. Nobody wants to hear me talk that long anyway. That's the first thing. And second, you get to see firsthand, like, okay, Deandra is in the pre-construction world every single day. That's why I brought her. And she's excellent. That's why I brought her. Okay. Earl negotiates for us every single day. Every day. Earl will call me on a Sunday. Okay. Like these are Dominique. We talk about new projects, old projects, every other day. She's doing whatever she's working. She'll call me, hey, listen, I need help on this. But I wanted you guys to see firsthand that it's not just me. I wish I was that smart, but I'm not. And I always stay in my lane. So I always have a different perspective because I'm able to not necessarily delegate, but I have others that can help me in areas that I might not be so proficient in. I don't do real estate every day. I don't show properties every day. I don't do pre-construction every day. I don't know what pre-construction is offering. And it's funny because Deandra brings up her interest rate. Builders right now, they will give you up to 8% of the purchase price. They're going to buy down the rate to something you cannot get on the open market. Plus, they also get what's called bulk rates. When I send her business, I'll lose money. I do mortgages for a living, but I do it knowing that if that's what the customer is best for the customer, then as long as the customer is taken care of, it always comes back. It always comes back 100% of the time. So, I'll digress. Katiana, are you still there? Yes, there we go. Right. So you're still muted, hon.
Yes, I'm here.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, so I wanted to direct the questions to everybody who's here. Everybody's in attendance, and I was very selective about who I invited. Okay, I wanted to invite people who are ready for these types of moves and not people who are just curious. Okay. And so I wanted to hear from you all who are in the audience. Okay. Do you have any questions? Because these are the times. This is how you learn, through asking questions, through having these types of conversations. So while you guys do that, go ahead and type it in the chat. Samir, I do have a question for you. Can you walk us through what the procedure is like to work with you? So from speaking to you, doing the paperwork to see what we qualify for, can you walk us through that journey of working with you, please?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. So, okay. So first I'll call you. I'll send you a link. Okay. Say great news. Fill out the link. Is everything that we do is digital. We fill out the link. We upload your documents. We figure out what you're looking for, how we can help you. We get you a pre-approval letter. So, since I'm looking at Dom, I'll roll with her. So with Dom, including her income and then the units that were going to be rented out, she qualified for 850 or 900. Okay. Which 900 in Atlanta is different than 900 in South Florida. We all know that, right? Like a duplex here is like $500,000-$600,000. Okay. But it also brings in more rent. You know what I mean? So like rents in Atlanta, they're slightly less than South Florida. So it's not the end of the world. What really have to focus on is how much rent is that area going to bring in, right? So once we do that, then I'll get you like someone like on the team like Earl. Earl's going to look for properties for you. All right. And then, you kind of go see the properties. Now, lately, for whatever reason, especially like that one in Atlanta where like, he went on the other side of the duplex, like, it's important that you go look at the properties. All right. Right now on Zillow, there's pictures of pools that are disgusting and it's Photoshopped to look like the damn Mediterranean Sea. Okay. Like you couldn't swim in it with someone else's body, but it's just disgusting. Like that duplex, when he showed me like the pictures in the video, I'm like, why didn't you guys go through in the beginning? Well, they wouldn't let him in. So that's the other thing. If the sellers won't let you into the property, it's because the property's tore up. There's no other reason. Okay. So then once you put in your docs, you get your pre-approved. We sift through properties. You sift through properties, go see the properties. And then once you go see the properties, you're able to put in an offer. Not all your offers are going to be accepted, but you got to move on. Okay. Well, Chantel asked me what states were we able to assist. We're able to assist in Georgia, Florida, and Texas. Those are the states where we have very, very good relationships. And Virginia soon to be here, and Tennessee soon to be here too. We're starting to establish some relationships there. Okay. So once you go to the property, then we finalize, get the loan, get the property inspected. We get the loan done. We do so much due diligence. The average turnaround time on the mortgage is 11 days, 11 business days. And then you close. And that's that. But we don't just close. We close with a plan of what's going to happen after you get the property. If it's a turnkey property, the pre-approval letter is good for 120 days. Miss Blondine, 120 days, 4 months. Okay. We close with a plan. If it's a turnkey property, there's not much planning that needs to be done. We need to know, is the tenant going to be out or are you going to keep the tenant? Are you going to raise the rent or are you not going to raise the rent? Okay. Does the property need work? Where are you going to get, what work do you need to get done? We need to make a plan for the property. So I'll give you another example. I just closed on a refi 2 weeks ago. I was over his house this weekend. It's a $1.1 million house here in Palm Beach. And he wanted to do a bunch of repairs on it before he put it on the market. And I was just like, no, dude, you will not do that because there's no guarantee you're going to get your money back. Because he's thinking if he puts in $50,000 in repairs, he can list the property for 1.4. Nothing in the neighborhood ever sold for more than 1.1. So the answer is no. And that's what I mean by like a plan. You got to have a plan when you get the contract, before you get the contract, when you get the contract, and then when you close. Certain things have to be, action plans have to be in effect. So that's what we do.
That was beautiful. Thank you. It gave us a nice visual. Okay. All right. I do have more questions, but I want to hear from the audience, or if you guys want to chime in into anything. Any other questions from you ladies? From Nancy, from Vianard, Shanika, Dorley, Altaglas. Anybody else have any questions, comments, or observations? You can type it in the chat if you can't speak. I think I asked. I think through your conversation, we pretty much asked pretty much everything. But just to sum it all up, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see investors make when it comes to real estate investing? And you answered it a little bit, but I want to wrap it up in a bow and have that answered.
Okay. So, Blondine, after 4 months, yes, you do have to requalify because your credit report is good for 120 days. Okay. So, thanks. That's actually a really good question. Um, yeah, New York market's tough too. Damn it, it's expensive. Move down here. Weather's better. Sorry, Shanika.
And also, too, you don't have to live in a country or a state to invest in it.
No, you
I
don't have
always
to live
tell
here.
my students that you do not need to live in there to invest. Okay.
I grew up in
Just
Boston, so I know just how miserable the weather is up there. But NYC is a fun city, so I'm not gonna go in too deep on it. Um, but to answer your question, the biggest mistakes I see is people try to do everything themselves. You know, like even people in my field, I see it. People in my field, like they're people are the realtor, the loan officer, the insurance guy, the life insurance guy. Like no, dude, just get a good team. Just get a team. That's it. Because everything from insurance, like Earl will tell you, like people come to us and we get these ridiculous insurance quotes. We're in South Florida. We get our people on it. The insurance is half the price, right? Because they took the time to care, to ask. We make you get an extra inspection. We make you get a wind mitt and a 4-point. It's $200 to save $5,000 a year. Like, what are we talking about here? But most people that don't care won't tell you that. They will not tell you that. When you don't have a good team and you're trying to do everything yourself, what you don't know will cost you 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times more money. Right, Earl?
Always, man. I'm gonna leave my audio on. You're good.
All
Always.
right. But you understand what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah.
And having the right people on the team. Deandra works as a builder, a major builder at Lennar. When you get they'll give you all this money to qualify, but if you don't qualify, you're screwed. You're just a number to them. You're not just a number to her. That's why I refer her people. Okay. She's not just going to give up because you didn't qualify at first or whatever. She'll do what she has to do to get you past that point if it's possible. And if it's not possible, she'll come back to me and we'll figure out a way for you to still get the benefits of going through the builder and getting all the incentives and going through someone else. Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's the number one mistake. Number two mistake is they're somehow emotionally tied to the property. Like it's like I say, like, they're afraid of it being declined or like they're like, I really want this house. Like, I never really quite understood that because I guess I don't really get attached to things. I'm a super nerd. These glasses are on for a reason, and I watch Star Trek. But like, you can't be attached to any of this stuff. You have to be attached to your plan to use it to increase your income, your cash flow, your net worth. You can't be attached to it. In the case of Dominique, if we reappraise this house and we think we're going to make 10 years worth of rent from selling the place, she's selling it. And it won't even be a question. She's selling it. It won't even be, if she can make a quick $500,000 on it by turning it into a quad, I'm going to tell her to sell it. She's going to put it on the market. And it won't even be a discussion. Okay. So, and I'm only saying this because that's just how the cookie crumbles. That's just the numbers. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the fear. When you have the right team behind you, like I tell people all the time, when you're prepared and you have the right team behind you, you're never really scared. You're never afraid. I believe in God. I don't push it on anybody else. That's just not my thing. But I do believe in divine timing. When you meet the right people, the right things happen. 10 years ago, I met my wife. A lot of right things happened. Before that, I was a schmuck. It's not a coincidence, right? So it's just one of those things where like you just have to just be willing to take the leap. Have some faith. Whether or not you use me, I think Katiana will definitely help steer you in the right direction. How's that, Bo?
I think Dominique had something to say. Did you have something
Hit
to
me.
say, Queen? Hold on, you're muted.
Oh, wait, Chantel. No, we have a team to help you find the properties. Chantel asks, our clients finding their own properties after pre-approval? No, we have the team to help you find the properties. Go ahead, Don.
I'll be really quickly, and then I gotta go. One, you will always have fear. And this fears comes in many levels and many forms. But I think the first thing is when you're able to deal with the fear, and this when in the beginning I said eliminate the fear. Eliminate the fear of actually just jumping out there and doing it. But through the process, there will be fear because this is your very first time doing it. But I'll give you my processes really quickly, like a quick 5 point step. First was eliminating fear of, you know what, I'm really going to do this. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to do it. The second part was how do I get money? Or how do I put on the training wheels beforehand? Because sometimes I want to taste something before I jump right into it. So you have to live like nobody today so you can live like nobody tomorrow. So I started renting out my rooms and my properties and started to be a landlord. And I started to like use my own properties that I was living in, whether it's a house, a townhouse, or an apartment. If you have a 2 bedroom apartment, rent a room out to somebody right there. That's going to be your first hand on how you become a landlord and how you deal with properties and things of that nature. So once you start to get the hang of renting out rooms and then eventually renting out your space and then you going somewhere else, that's one going to give you cash flow. And once I started to rent out my own spaces, individually, I had my one of the properties I was renting out was a townhouse and it was like 3 or 4 bedrooms. I rented out each one of those rooms as studios. That freed up my space to where it gave me the income that I needed and the cash flow I needed to go ahead and put me a little cookie jar away so that I could go ahead and get a bigger house. So I made myself
A very
uncomfortable. I rented
large
out
cookie jar.
rooms. I rented out rooms. And then from there, I went and stayed at friends' house. I went and stayed at hotels. I did what I had to do because I knew there was a bigger picture that I was facing towards. So once I did that and I had my lump sum, and then from there, I went and got small properties in the beginning. And then once I got my small properties with 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000, I kept them for a little bit. I made them nicer than what I found them. And then I sold them. So for example, one property I bought for 49, 50,000. That was a turnkey, 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom. I eventually ended up selling that for like 130. And then I took that big cookie. I paid myself back my 50,000, which I initially invested. And then I took maybe 10 or 20 of that to set aside for reserves. And then the rest of that money, I went and put a down payment on something bigger. And then I just kept doing that over and over and over and over until I was able to get bigger pieces. And then with the team of Samir and Katiana, and then also having my team of, you have to have your GCs, you have to have, or it GC, if you're just starting out, get you a handyman that you guys are really cool with, and that handyman and you, anything that you need help or fixing, allow that handyman to be your like sensei in a sense. And then from there, you continue to do that process until you're ready to go buy your multi-unit or whatever. But which also helped me is I always knew that I wanted to get into multi-units. So residential singles were just the beginning, but have your goal and stick to it. Like Samir said, have a lane and stick to it. If real estate is your lane, don't dabble into the stock market. Don't dabble into like, just you got to have laser focus. So that's a little bit of what I did to get me to where I am today.
Yeah, and we were lucky enough to be there from the very beginning because I remember talking to Dominique like 5, 6 years ago, and she was
Yeah.
like, "Do this, and that." I'm like, all right, cool. What do you want to do with this condo, right? And like it's really important that like because what happens is I think a lot of times too like being in my position, I think a lot of times people like in sales, like they want to sell stuff. Like, okay, so Katya a couple of weeks ago, she referred me someone, and then that person expected me to sell them this. This is not a sales process. This is what I want to do process, or I don't want to do process. Because like I said before, it's hard. I have a team that makes it easier. I have a team that makes it look easy. But it's just like I tell everybody, everybody's got footage of Michael playing. Everybody's got footage of Kobe playing. Everybody's got footage of Shaq playing. Get on that basketball court and play like them and see what happens.
It is not easy
It's
from
not easy.
crackheads in my
Not
properties
easy.
to
And there's a
like
lot of
it's
different
hard.
yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of different approaches, pre-construction, small condo, small townhouse. There's a lot of different things. But that's why there's different medications for different people. There's different tastes for different people. There's different outfits, cars, houses, whatever you want to say. Everybody's different, right? So part of having a team is seeing how we can best serve you. That's what having a team is for. So yeah, absolutely. I thank you for saying that because that's really important. I mean, and I'm honored to be part of the journey because when I see, because I know what it's like for me. Like just recently, I started my own mortgage brokerage business after working for since '08. I haven't had my own mortgage brokerage office since 2008. I went market crash. I left, went to insurance, came back, worked for a lender. I was a manager. I was a salesperson. I was regional manager. Then I got my own branch, and I got my own branch of a huge retail office. And Dominique was there for all that. And then that she met when I was at
Amir,
like,
you're one of the smartest men I know.
yeah,
And
thank you. Thank you.
the
Like,
last thing was that like
you know,
once you people on your team, you have to trust them.
yeah,
And you
trust.
need to have people in your corner and on your team who are smarter than you because they know Katiana, them paperwork, them documents, she is on it. She's like boom, 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 boom. Samir, with just knowing his, is like boom, 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 boom. You have to listen to your team. You have to have smarter people who are smarter than you, who know how to do their job.
And things will go right like dominoes,
Yep.
right? Because we know how to deal with adversity. Okay. So yeah, I hope that also answers your question, Ms. Kantiana. Any other questions?
Yes, that's pretty much it from my end. Thank you so much for that. That was a amazing journey, a picture, especially the way that you painted it, Dominique. Thank you so much for that.
No worries.
Yes, thank you. That's all I have to say. I don't know if anybody else has anything. You guys can, say your last words. It's been an hour, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
No worries, guys. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dom, and everybody that showed. Because I actually told them very last minute because I procrastinate when it comes to this kind of stuff because I get busy and bogged down with so much crap during the day. And I'm just like, oh, man. Hey, DeAndre, I need you to show up. She's like, well, what time? Well, actually, it's actually in 10 minutes. I'll send you the link. And she showed up. Dominique was
Same with
landing.
me.
Yeah, same with Allison. Dominique is landing. She's on an airplane and she took the time to be here. I want to say thank you, Earl, as well. And hope you guys all have a great night. Safe journeys, okay?
Yes, one last thing we forgot. Somebody asked it. How do we get in contact with you, Samir? I know, Dominique, you have to go.
Oh, just go to
Thank you.
rentalrealestate.com. And then this is my phone number here. That's my cell. It hasn't changed in 20 years. It's not going anywhere. My pleasure. Okay. And I know how to spell pleasure, by the way.
Are you sure?
Hi,
You guys have a
guys.
great night.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Let me remove.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming.
You. Good night.
All right, everyone. Bye. Bye, ladies.